Good evening. The Central Florida Expressway Authority, commonly known as CFX, would like to welcome you to the public hearing for the Southport Connector Expressway Project Development and Environment, or PD&E, study. My name is Mary Brooks. I'm the Public Involvement Coordinator for this study. Here with me tonight are Will Hawthorne, Director of Transportation Policy and Planning for CFX, Ralph Beauvais with Volkert, the Consultant Project Manager for the study, and other members of the study team. We welcome those of you who are participating virtually. As a reminder, the next in-person public hearing will be Thursday, September 18th, at the Point Siena Community Center in Polk County. If you join by computer, tablet, or mobile device, you will be able to see the presentation and provide written comments. Instructions on how to provide written comments will be provided shortly. Thank you. We have a few housekeeping items to share with you, and then we will begin the presentation. This hearing is being conducted in a hybrid format to provide multiple ways for the public to receive information about the project and provide input. This hearing is being conducted in person and virtually through Microsoft Teams webinar. The next in-person hearing will be held on Thursday, September 18th. This is the virtual session. The PowerPoint presentation is available on the project website, movepointsiena.com. For online participants, the Microsoft Teams webinar control panel should be visible on the top of your window. If joining Microsoft Teams webinar on your mobile device, simply tap the screen to display the same options. The blue arrows in both images point to where you will find the question or Q&A box. You can type a comment or question into the question box. Then click Ask to submit your comment or question to staff. The red arrows in both images point to where you can find handouts, documents, and comment forms for this public hearing. Click the chat icon to see available handouts. Click on the link to download. If you happen to experience a technical issue during this hearing, please type the issue in the question box on the control panel on Microsoft Teams webinar, or send an email to nick.lully@cfxway.com to report it. You may also call Nick Lully at 407-885-4743. Staff will do their best to assist you. This public hearing is for CFX project number 599-233. This environmental study has been conducted by CFX in compliance with all applicable federal and state environmental laws. The purpose of this public hearing is to share information with the general public about the proposed improvements, conceptual design, all alternatives under study, and the potential beneficial and adverse social, economic, and environmental impacts upon the community. The public hearing also serves as an official forum, providing an opportunity for members of the public to express their opinions regarding the project. There are two primary components to tonight's virtual hearing. First, this presentation, which will explain the project purpose and need, study alternatives, potential impacts, both beneficial and adverse, and proposed methods to mitigate adverse project impacts. And secondly, a formal comment period following this presentation, where you will have the opportunity to type in comments to be included as part of the project record. This public hearing was advertised consistent with all applicable requirements. Public participation at this hearing is encouraged and solicited. This public hearing and study are being conducted without regard for race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. This public hearing was advertised consistent with applicable requirements. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to compliance by CFX with Title VI may do so by contacting myself via the information on this slide. All inquiries or complaints will be handled according to CFX procedure and in a prompt and courteous manner. The project development process followed by CFX for new alignment expansion projects is shown here. The project is currently in the PD&E study phase. The PD&E study phase considers environmental effects during the alternatives evaluation process and provides an opportunity for input during the early stages of project development as alternatives are being considered. At the conclusion of the study, after public input is received on recommended alternative findings and based on CFX governing board consideration, the next phase would be the design phase. Following design, the next phases are right-of-way, permitting, utility coordination, and construction. The Southport Connector Expressway study area, shaded in orange on the screen, is in Osceola and Polk counties. The proposed 15-mile limited-access expressway would extend from the Poinciana Parkway to Pleasant Hill Road within the median of Cypress Parkway. From there, it would continue east, south of Lake Toho, to the Florida's Turnpike and Canoe Creek Road. The project includes proposed local road improvements, including widening Cypress Parkway to 6 lanes, widening side streets, and making other upgrades at 8 intersections. For nearly 20 years, local, state, and regional transportation agencies have studied potential solutions to address the rapid growth in the study area. In 2018, CFX completed a concept, feasibility, and mobility, or CF&M study to evaluate a new expressway connection between Poinciana Parkway and Florida's Turnpike. During that study, the corridor alternatives were evaluated, and each of these corridor alternatives was found to be feasible. This CFX PD&E study began in September of 2020 to further evaluate the corridor alternatives that were recommended by the CF&M study. The purpose and need for a project provides the basis for developing, considering, evaluating, and eliminating alternatives. The purpose and need shapes the alternatives and assists with identification of reasonable and feasible alternatives. The Southport Connector Expressway will provide regional connectivity and enhance mobility between I-4 and Florida's Turnpike. In addition, the project will address ongoing growth in population and employment within the region. Osceola County continues to be the fastest growing county in Central Florida. Bureau of Economic and Business Research estimates show a 37% population increase is anticipated in Osceola County by 2050. Polk County's population grew by more than a third in the last decade. There are multiple planned and permitted developments within and adjacent to the study area, including on the west, Westview, and on the east, Waterland, formerly known as Green Island, and the Richland communities, which recently purchased approximately 3,200 acres of the Bronson Ranch. Waterland and Richland are both located within the urban growth boundary and represent significant land areas within the South Lake Toho Master Plan area. Traffic along Cypress Parkway increased 25% from 2019 to 2024 and is anticipated to increase another 40% by the year 2050. The Southport Connector Expressway would help address anticipated future traffic needs by providing relief along Cypress Parkway by adding additional capacity. The project will also relieve congestion on other local area roads, provide multimodal opportunities including a multi-use trail, maintain consistency with transportation plans, and enhance safety, emergency response, and evacuation. Based on the project purpose and need, several alternatives for connecting the existing Poinciana Parkway to Florida's Turnpike and Canoe Creek Road were identified and evaluated. The proposed expressway would begin at the existing Poinciana Parkway at Coa Street and enter the median of Cypress Parkway near the Toho Water Plant, and would remain co-located within Cypress Parkway to Pleasant Hill Road. The expressway would then be located on a new alignment location as it bridges over Reedy Creek, continues south of Lake Toho, and extends to Florida's Turnpike and Canoe Creek Road. In the area east of Pleasant Hill Road, 3 corridor alternatives were evaluated. The northernmost, orange corridor, is Alternative 3000. Alternative 4000 is yellow and is centrally located within the study area. Alternative 7000, shown in purple, is the southernmost corridor and generally represents the expressway alignment location as shown in Osceola County's approved South Lake Toho Master Plan and adopted Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The areas shown in white on this map indicate areas where the evaluation of avoidance and minimization alternatives resulted in the identification of common alignment locations. These will be discussed later. Public involvement and stakeholder coordination are integral parts of a PD&E study. There have been various opportunities for the public to provide input on this project. 4 public meetings have been held to date, including a corridor public meeting in October of 2021 to present the results of the initial corridor analysis. An informal community open house was held last November to share the concepts and renderings with the community, including a new elevated bridge alternative and a 6-laned Cypress Parkway. The Alternatives Public Workshop was held last March to present the latest alternative updates, preliminary traffic, and other information. Additional stakeholder coordination included presentations throughout the life of the study to the CFX Environmental Stewardship Committee, as well as to the Project Advisory, Environmental Advisory, and Community Engagement groups. We're now presenting you the preferred alternative. In addition to our advisory groups, Polk and Osceola County staff are members of the study team and participate in monthly project progress meetings with us. We've also had meetings with the State Road 515 Northeast Connector Phase 2 PD&E study team and Florida's Turnpike Enterprise to coordinate ongoing adjacent projects. Meetings with community leaders and business owners in the Poinciana area, agricultural landowners, and development interests have also been held to coordinate public and agency concerns. An Alternatives Public Workshop was held last March, to which over 100 members of the public attended. Comments received included design suggestions, imploring construction of the expressway, concerns about the location of the expressway, noise from construction and expressway traffic, potential air pollution, the project's effect on property values, and traffic forecasting. Support for the wall and hybrid alternatives along the Cypress Parkway segment, as well as for Alternative 4000 east of Pleasant Hill Road, were also documented. In the summer of 2024, CFX launched an enhanced engagement effort. So far, the agency has conducted 55 public, community, and stakeholder meetings attended by more than 1,750 community members. There has been good response to the traffic congestion survey, as well as visits to the project websites. CFX has been using a host of communication methods to get the most accurate study information out to community members and to receive their input. For the evaluation of alternatives for the Cypress Parkway segment, 3 conceptual design options were considered for building the elevated expressway within the Cypress Parkway right-of-way. The first involved the use of fill dirt stabilized by earthen walls, referred to as the wall alternative. The second option involved the use of a fully elevated bridge structure, referred to as the bridge alternative, and the third option considered a combination of the wall and bridge options and is referred to as the hybrid alternative. All options considered would maintain cross-street access at the location shown in orange on this slide. The blue labels indicate potential locations along Cypress Parkway where access ramps to and from the expressway would be provided. The evaluation of alternatives east of Pleasant Hill Road involved balancing the needs for improved transportation infrastructure to serve the growing region, while avoiding and minimizing impacts to the human and natural environment. As mentioned earlier, the areas shown in white represent locations where the evaluation of avoidance and minimization alternatives resulted in the identification of common alignment locations. The first common area is through the Reedy Creek Watershed, Environmental Study Center, Lake Russell Cultural Site, and former Osceola County landfill. The second common area is at Florida's Turnpike, where the location of the Future Systems Interchange has been established through extensive coordination with Florida's Turnpike Enterprise, as well as CFX and the State Road 515 Northeast Connector Expressway PD&E study team. The proposed interchange locations along each alignment alternative generally represent the locations identified in the county's South Lake Tahoe Master Plan. In this area, at the request of the Environmental Stewardship Committee, the footprint of the potential interchange east of the landfill has been reduced to minimize right-of-way impacts and would serve future traffic to and from the north, away from Lake Russell. Following the March 2025 Alternatives Public Workshop, refinements were made to the alternative 4000 in 2 locations. Shown on the left, the interchange north of Lake Russell was shifted southeast to minimize impacts to residential parcels. On the right, both the interchange locations and alignment of alternative 4000 were refined to match proposed updates to future development plans. This slide shows the entirety of the preferred alternative from Poinciana Parkway to Canoe Creek Road. Based on the results of the comparative evaluation of all options considered, the hybrid alternative was identified as the most reasonable and feasible alternative for the Cypress Parkway segment of the project. When considering the cumulative results of the criterion evaluated and input received during the study, alternative 4000, incorporating the previously described refinements, was determined to be the most reasonable and feasible alternative for the east of Pleasant Hill Road segment of the project. In this segment, the proposed Southport Connector Expressway would consist of variations of elevation within the median of Cypress Parkway. The wall alternative is proposed from Poinciana Parkway to Marigold Avenue, and a combination of bridge and wall alternative is proposed from Marigold Avenue to Pleasant Hill Road. This combination of wall and bridge east of Marigold Avenue is necessary to accommodate a mainline toll plaza to be located east of Dover Plum Avenue. In this area, a lower vertical profile of the expressway is needed to accommodate tolling facilities. With community feedback and in coordination with Osceola and Polk counties, engineering modifications were accommodated and incorporated into the Cypress Parkway portion of the project, which include providing a 6-lane expressway, 3 lanes in each direction, as well as widening Cypress Parkway to 6 lanes. The concept plans that will be on display at the public hearing will show the additional auxiliary lanes to be provided at intersecting side streets, as well as the multi-use path along both sides of Cypress Parkway. This slide shows the general typical section for the wall alternative proposed from Poinciana Parkway to Marigold Avenue. And this slide shows the general typical section for the bridge alternative proposed from Marigold Avenue to Pleasant Hill Road. As mentioned previously, a short segment of the expressway east of Dover Plum Avenue will require a lower vertical profile to accommodate tolling facilities. The expressway here will transition from bridge to wall and back to bridge as it approaches Pleasant Hill Road. For the segment east of Pleasant Hill Road, the preferred alternative would be located on a new alignment. This segment includes a bridge over Reedy Creek, 3 potential future local interchange locations consistent with the adopted South Lake Tahoe Master Plan, an interim partial interchange of Florida's Turnpike, with the facility terminating at a local connection with Canoe Creek Road. The preferred alternative east of Pleasant Hill Road includes a variety of typical sections. The proposed bridge across Reedy Creek, shown in the upper left typical section, will accommodate wildlife permeability in this critical portion of the Florida Wildlife Corridor. For the expressway segment through the Reedy Creek watershed, north of the Lake Russell Cultural Site and south of the former Osceola County landfill, the project footprint may be reduced to minimize impacts as shown on the upper right typical section. The project proposes the relocation of the existing Southport Road from the Environmental Studies Center to a point just east of the landfill. The proposed typical section in the lower left corner shows Southport Road relocated on the north side of the expressway. The lower right corner shows the mainline typical section from east of the first potential future interchange to Canoe Creek Road. In this portion of the project, the proposed bridge over the Southport Canal will provide additional opportunity for wildlife permeability. We'd now like to share an animation that we hope gives you an idea of what the preferred alternative would look like.
Traveling south on Poinciana Parkway, the preferred alternative for the Southport Connector Expressway would begin just north of the existing Coa Street interchange. New ramps are being added to the Poinciana Parkway to provide full access to and from Coa Street and Cypress Parkway. After the initial southbound exit, drivers then decide to exit for Coa Street or continue to Cypress Parkway. The new northbound ramp from Cypress Parkway would tie into the Point Siena Parkway here. As the expressway continues south, the beginning and end of the ramps between the Point Siena Parkway and Cypress Parkway come into view. The future Westview development will be located to the west of the expressway as shown here. The new expressway curves east and bridges over the westbound Cypress Parkway lanes before being elevated on fill and retaining walls in the median. The Solavita community can be seen south of Cypress Parkway, and a new mixed-use development is planned north of Cypress Parkway in this area. East of this intersection, Cypress Parkway becomes 6 lanes. As the Southport Connector Expressway continues east in the median towards Laurel Avenue, entrance and exit ramps will provide access for those wishing to make longer trips. The roadway profile will be lowered to accommodate a mainline toll plaza west of Laurel Avenue. A bridge at Laurel Avenue will provide cross-traffic and emergency services access on Cypress Parkway. Continuing east, the next expressway entrance and exit ramps will provide access to and from the hospital, neighborhoods, and businesses. Due to the distance between cross streets and the limited access facility being on fill dirt and walls, CFX was able to lower the height of the expressway in this area. At Marigold Avenue, the expressway transitions to being elevated primarily on bridge structure. This will allow for more open community views in some areas. CFX is implementing improvements on the Marigold Avenue and Cypress Parkway intersection, and 7 others, to improve travel times. As the expressway continues east of Cypress Branch Road, the next entrance and exit ramps appear. The ramps will rise and fall on fill and retaining walls. This includes in front of the gym and aquatic center. Views under the expressway will be limited where ramps are present. Expressway bridging resumes at Cypress Drive and continues through Dover Plum Avenue, maintaining cross-traffic and open community views. Widening and other intersection upgrades also will be made at Dover Plum Avenue. East of Dover Plum Avenue, the expressway transitions back to fill dirt and walls, and the profile is lowered to accommodate a mainline toll plaza. The 6-laned expressway returns to being elevated on bridge structure as it continues east through the Pleasant Hill Road intersection. Currently experiencing significant rush hour backups, the Pleasant Hill Road intersection will get substantial upgrades, including additional turn and through lanes. East of Pleasant Hill Road would be the next expressway ramps providing access to and from areas south of Lake Toho and to the turnpike farther east. The expressway would be bridged over the Reedy Creek area to allow for continued wildlife movement and wetland permeability. Southport Road would be realigned north of the expressway to allow continued access to the Environmental Study Center and private properties. The footprint of Interchange A, east of the landfill, has been reduced to minimize right-of-way impacts and would serve future traffic to and from the north. There would be an all-electronic toll gantry east of Interchange A to keep traffic moving. The proposed interchanges generally coincide with the future adopted roadway network in Osceola County's South Lake Toho Master Plan. They would provide regional access to the future planned developments in this area. The preferred alternative bridge over the Southport Canal will be long enough to offer wildlife permeability. The next toll gantry follows shortly thereafter. An additional interchange would be provided for additional access. The Southport Connector Expressway will connect to Florida's Turnpike, providing northbound and southbound access, and a crucial connection to another major road to get in and out of the community. A connection to Canoe Creek Road will provide access back to the local road network east of the turnpike. However, no access to the turnpike from Canoe Creek Road will be provided as part of this project. Another study, the Northeast Connector Expressway Phase 2 PD&E study, is evaluating options to continue the expressway to US 192 and Nova Road.
An evaluation matrix was prepared that compares the preferred alternative to the no-build alternative. The no-build alternative means the proposed expressway and local road improvements would not be built, and that no other improvements would be implemented other than those already planned for by others. The matrix, which will be on display at the public hearings for closer review, considers impacts on the physical, cultural, natural, and social environments. It also evaluates the existing and future traffic volumes and provides estimated costs. We'll discuss some of the detail on the various matrix sections in the following slides. The preferred alternative extends over 15 miles from its beginning point along the existing Poinciana Parkway, north of Coa Street, to Canoe Creek Road. Up to 330 feet of right-of-way will be needed for the proposed improvements. In addition, the preferred alternative includes 8 new potential interchanges and approximately 31,500 linear feet, nearly 6 miles, of bridge structure. Traffic along Cypress Parkway has increased 25% from 2019 to 2024 and is anticipated to increase another 40% by the year 2050. In the design year of 2050, in the no-build condition, the level of service and delays along Cypress Parkway and surrounding roadways will worsen. Increased traffic and congestion also contribute to a decrease in safety. As a result of the continued congestion, Cypress Parkway has experienced increases in crashes, which will continue if no improvements are made. On the top line of this figure, you can see where the intersections of Marigold Avenue and Cypress Branch Road will be at an unacceptable level of service E in the morning peak period. The intersections from Cypress Drive to Pleasant Hill Road will be operating at an unacceptable level of service F, which is over the design capacity of these intersections, and will result in very long periods of travel time and delay. On the bottom line of this figure, you can see where the preferred alternative, with improvements to Cypress Parkway to a 6-lane facility, will operate at an acceptable level of service by providing more roadway capacity and alleviating congestion, therefore resulting in much shorter travel time delays in the morning peak period. On the top line of this figure, for the evening peak hour, you can see where all the intersections from Pleasant Hill Road to Marigold Avenue will be operating at an unacceptable level of service F, which is over the designed capacity of these intersections, and result in very long periods of travel time and delay. On the bottom line of this figure, you can see where with the preferred alternative, including improvements to Cypress Parkway to a 6-lane facility, with additional auxiliary lanes for turning movements at intersections, the level of service will be significantly improved. As in the morning peak hour, the preferred alternative will operate at an acceptable level of service by providing more roadway capacity and alleviating congestion, therefore resulting in much shorter travel time delays in the afternoon peak period. With the preferred alternative, there are no significant adverse impacts to physical and cultural resources. Utility relocations will be required and will be fully detailed during the final design phase. Potential contamination sites will continue to be evaluated throughout the project development process. The existing Reedy Creek Tributary Number 3, an associated canal system along Cypress Parkway, will be relocated to an underground conveyance system, and potential impacts will be mitigated during the permitting process. The preferred alternative will have no adverse impacts to any known historic resources. The preferred alternative will cross one linear resource, the Southport Canal, which does not appear eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. Potential archaeological resources impacts are documented in the Draft Cultural Resource Assessment Survey. Coordination with the State Historic Preservation Office will continue throughout the project development process. The no-build alternative would have no impacts to the physical or cultural environment. Based on the abundance of existing environmental resources such as wetlands, floodplains, and protected species habitat, the preferred alternative will have impacts primarily east of Pleasant Hill Road. From an estimated acreage perspective, the percentage differences among the alternatives considered east of Pleasant Hill Road were not significant enough to favor one alternative over another. The preferred alternative minimizes impacts to the Environmental Study Center, former Osceola County landfill, and Lake Russell Cultural Site. The preferred alternative also minimizes impacts to critical smoke dispersal areas relative to the Disney Wilderness Preserve, the Southport Mitigation Bank, and areas contiguous to those resources to the east, southeast, where prescribed burning is part of the overall resource management in these natural areas and managed lands. The no-build alternative will have no impacts to the natural environment. The preferred alternative would require property acquisition and would result in impacts to existing and proposed land uses. Coordination with property owners and land developers will continue throughout the project development process to minimize impacts where feasible. The no-build alternative would not impact any existing or proposed land uses or community facilities. The total estimated cost for the preferred alternative is approximately $2.5 billion. This includes approximately $2.3 billion for roadway construction, including bridges and utility relocations, as well as the improvements to Cypress Parkway. The remaining costs are associated with preliminary estimates for right-of-way costs and environmental mitigation. The no-build alternative does not have any cost above routine maintenance, as may be required and scheduled by local jurisdictions. The study schedule moving forward is shown on this slide. As indicated by the orange box, the study is at the end of Q3 of this year. After the public hearings in each county, the study findings and public feedback will be presented to the CFX Governing Board for review in December of 2025. At that time, the board will decide whether the project moves forward or not to design and construction. The conclusions from the engineering and environmental evaluation and analysis conducted for this project were documented in a series of draft reports and technical memorandums, which are available on the project websites, movepoinciana.com and avanzapoinciana.com, and will be on display at the public hearing. These draft documents have also been available for public review since August 22nd at the locations shown here. The documents will remain available on display through October 2nd. Study websites in English and Spanish were created and updated throughout the PD&E study. As mentioned, public meeting documents, displays, and project reports are available on the project websites movepoinciana.com and avanzapoinciana.com. We welcome your written comments. At the conclusion of this presentation, please type your name, address, and comment into the question or Q&A box. Alternatively, you may visit the study website and fill out a comment form or email us at projectstudies@cfxway.com. Every comment method carries equal weight. Written comments received or postmarked by October 2nd, 2025 will become part of the public record for this hearing. Thank you. This concludes our presentation. The next step is to incorporate your input on this public hearing into our decision-making process. A reminder, you can type a comment or question into the question or Q&A box. Then click Ask to submit your comment or question to staff, or email me at projectstudies@cfxway.com. After the comment period closes and your input has been considered and documented, the final PD&E document will be prepared. The findings of the PD&E study and public input will be presented to the CFX Governing Board at the December 2025 meeting. Thank you again for your participation in this evening's virtual public hearing on the preferred alternative for the Southport Connector Expressway PD&E study.